Welcome back to 3 Ways to Build, the series where we take different Minecraft ideas and build them 3 different ways. Basic, in which we construct a very easy, very minimalistic, and frankly, not very good looking build. Insane, where we go in the complete opposite direction and make something totally massive and like crazy complicated and off the wall. And it's really, really cool, but it's not practical in survival Minecraft. And Balanced, where you take elements of the previous 2 builds and combine them into something that is a lot more survival friendly. You know, a lot of these videos we've done on the 3 Ways to Build series have been very geometric, very, structural, like this giant medieval great hall we've got behind me, and we've never really done anything more like organic, more natural looking, that kind of stuff. So I figured we would change that today and talk about one of my favorite kinds of tree builds in Minecraft, which is a willow tree. But I'm sure you guys have all seen willow trees before. The question is, how are we going to translate that into Minecraft? Well, without further ado, here is our basic willow tree. Like with our other basic builds, there's really not much to this. I'm using our standard oak logs here. I'm using azalea leaves and flowering azalea, which is kind of cool. And I've got a little bit of a nice pattern going on here, but there really isn't any sort of order to this. There is no rules about like how the leaves are ordered. I'm sure none of you are impressed by this, but it serves to show a very bare bones rendition of the willow tree in Minecraft. One of the most important things with custom trees, which we'll talk about more later, is that if you want to make larger, more creative, more wacky looking custom trees, it's a really good idea to kind of expand your block palette to accommodate some blocks that you wouldn't typically use in tree builds. We can do a lot better than this, trust me. And better we definitely did with our insane build, which I'll show you in just a minute. This build was amazing, and I really, really love putting it together. And best of all, I got it all in a time lapse. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the construction of my massive mega willow tree. Oh man, what a seriously cool willow tree. I am so proud of this build, and I really do hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Now obviously this build is much larger than our basic build, but beyond that, what exactly makes it better? So this build is more interesting for several reasons. As I mentioned, the size is definitely a big improvement. This isn't by any means realistic to real life, of course, nor is it survival friendly, but it's still impressive just off of the sheer scale factor. On top of that, the shapes I used are a lot more realistic. I actually used a couple pictures of real life willow trees as a reference the entire time I was making the trunk and the branches and everything. We've got a lot more droopiness going on with our glowberry vines and of course our mangrove leaves. And the canopy, even though it's a much larger build and doesn't look quite as bushy, still looks pretty nice. You can see where the individual branches curve up and then start to droop downwards. You can distinguish like the thicker sections from the thinner little bits that the leaves are attached to. So the shape is definitely an improvement, but with regards to the textures, I'm mainly using mangrove leaves because I like that there's kind of like a vertical grain almost going on here, and I think it looks really nice when you put them in vertical stacks like this. I think they look a lot like real life willow leaves. And to add a little bit of texturing, I'm using the azalea leaves. They're slightly lighter, so I think they can work very well on the top of the canopy. And on the bottom, I've kind of attached them to some of the leaves hanging downwards. You can see that they're forming little like appendages on the side here. In terms of the trunk, I'm using acacia wood and tuff and andesite. This is one of my favorite block combinations for making realistic tree trunks. Not only do real life willow trees have a pretty gray bark color, so something like this is going to work out very well, but the andesite slabs add a lot more curvature, so it doesn't seem as blocky, which is a very important thing when you're making organic builds like tree trunks. Minecraft is of course a blocky game, and that doesn't really play well with these very organic freeform builds. But yeah, overall, this build is fantastic. I really enjoy just sitting underneath the canopy here, looking up into the huge clusters of leaves up there. It's a really lovely, serene, beautiful feeling standing under this tree, and I really do hope you guys are enjoying it as well. But of course, for all of the beautiful things I could say about this tree, this is not survival friendly. Not one bit. I mean, look at this thing. I don't know about you, but I would probably never make this in survival Minecraft unless I was seriously dedicated to like a mega base or something, because oh my god, look at the leaves I had to put down here. This took me several hours. It was seriously no joke. So that of course begs the question, what if we took a lot of the same design ideas and shrunk it down to something that's a lot more manageable for survival Minecraft? Well, my friends, that is our balanced build, and we can go take a look right now. And here we are, our third and final willow tree build of today. The balanced one. I'll put up a little bit of like a cinematic shadery kind of montage thing for you guys to take a look at. I really do think that the only way to do a tree build like this justice is to really give it the nice cinematic fly-through treatment, you know? It's really fun to put together, and I think people like looking at them, so enjoy. Anyways guys, as you can see, this is using a lot of the same block palettes and color combinations and general design ideas from the previous build, but it's all shrunk down and put into a nice, neat little survival friendly package. On top of that, I've even added a few additional details. The roots are more pronounced here. I didn't really do much for like above ground root sections on the insane build, mainly just because the reference image that I was using didn't really have like big exposed roots. The other two things I'm sure you guys will notice are the iron bars and the mangrove propagules. I'm sorry guys. The iron bars are an interesting choice, and I wasn't entirely sure if that was really gonna work. What I'm trying to go for here is, if you look at real life willow trees, you'll often see that they have these tiny little droopy branches, and you know, they're still like a grayish, brownish green color like the rest of the tree is. So I'm going for a similar effect here. I didn't want to have just straight columns of leaves because I felt that that was very blocky. So by doing this, not only can I break up the shape of these columns here, but I can add in a little bit more gray to match the trunk. As for the propagules, once again, we're drawing inspiration from real life, where willow trees, you know, the actual droopy branches are definitely not this thick. Like the 1x1 block is way too thick for most of these individual willow tree branches. So I kind of wanted to have a way for them to like taper off at the bottom and become very thin, as they do in real life. And you know, because I'm using the mangrove leaves and I have the ability to put the propagules here, I mean, I might as well. More detail is almost always a good thing to add. So yeah guys, those are my 3 ways to build a Minecraft willow tree. Now before you go anywhere, I know some of you guys really like build tutorials, and as is tradition with the 3 ways to build series, I'm gonna do a quick little build tutorial on this here balanced willow tree. This is easily my favorite of the bunch, even though the insane build is very cool. So I figured I would show you guys how to make one of your own. Now of course, real quick, keep in mind that for organic builds like this, it's a lot harder to just follow a specific set of rules. Like when you're making the canopy, doing the texture mixing and stuff, all of that is really going to be up to you. Some people like a lot of texture mixing and other people don't. And you know, both sides are equally valid. Anyways, enough of me blabbing about stuff. Let's get into our build tutorial. Alrighty, first things first, we're going to go over the materials list. Thankfully, you only actually need 8 different kinds of materials. You will need 45 tufts, 79 acacia woods, or acacia logs if you don't mind a little bit of that orange poking through every once in a while, 10 andesite slabs, 284 mangrove leaves. Yeah, they use a lot of leaves. Seriously. 100 azalea leaves, 31 iron bars, 49 glowberries, and 20 of the wonderful propagules. Oh, it disappeared. 20 of the wonderful propagules. Alright, right off the bat, we're gonna make this funny little cross shape. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks in one direction, and then 8 blocks in the other direction. You can see where it intersects here. We have 3 poking out on one side. We're gonna put an andesite slab on the edges of all 4. We can go ahead and remove our temporary markings, of course. Using our acacia and our tuff, we can go 1, 1, and then 3 here. We're going to be forming like the roots that kind of spiral into the central trunk right now. On this side, we're going to do 1 more slab here, a tuff, and then 2 of the acacia logs. On our longest end here, you're going to do tough, log, log, and then log making kind of like a corner here. Then our last root here is going to have a tough, a log, another tough, and then 3 more logs around it like that. Just to the left of the longest root here, we're going to do 1 log and 1 tough. And here on this diagonal on the other end, we're going to do 1 more log. And now we've got our outline. Oh yeah, just add in a tough and a log there just to kind of fill in that space here. You don't want a gap where that slab is. Now I'm gonna take you guys through this one layer at a time. We're gonna go do a little bit of a fancy little replay mod kind of thing. It's gonna be pretty cool. And you'll get to see exactly what gets added on and where for each individual layer. Now of course we're just worrying about the trunk right now. We're gonna tackle the branches in a little while, but I thought this would be an interesting way of like showing off the construction of the build to you guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. So our trunk is looking pretty good, and now of course before we do any of the funky leaf things, we have to lay in a basic structure of branches. Remember that these branches in the end should look roughly kind of circular as they spread out evenly in all directions. You don't want giant gaps in the top of your tree. So starting from this tuft right here, we're gonna do log and 3 more tufts just like that, kind of making a T shape. Gonna make kind of a 2x2 section here with the logs and another tuft just like that. Gonna do a temporary block on top of the tuft, then do another tuft, temporary block here, do a log and another tuft, then off of this wood here, do another tuft, bring that down, can do wood and wood, then 1 final tuft right there, and you can see this gnarly old little branch is completed. I know it's a little bit blocky, but that's just the nature of these smaller trees. It is all good. Then from this middle wood right here, we're gonna do 1, 2, then a tuft and a wood, kind of rotating around to look at it from this direction. You're going to do 1, 2 more woods and another tuft. You're actually going to put 1 more tuft in the corner here, and then you're going to further kind of drag this branch outwards, both out away from the tree and just kind of fanning out in a general shape. So I'm doing that by having a tuft here, and a couple more pieces of wood, just like that. And then we do 1 more of those funny little diagonal tricks with 1 piece of tuft right there, and there you go, second branch completed. Then going back to the middle here, we're gonna have 1 acacia wood and then a temporary block. Then we're gonna do tuft, tuft, then tuft, wood, forming these 2 columns of 2 just there. Then we're going to take a branch off in this direction here, so I'm thinking wood, wood, bring it up by 1 more with a tuft, and then out in this direction with another 2 woods. Going around the back here, we're going to do another temporary block and throw 1 more little tuft in there as just a tiny little branch poking off of the main trunk. We're going to do 1 more tuft on the corner here, bringing it a little bit further up and outwards. 2 woods, 1 more tuft up like that, wood, wood, temporary block, and 1 more wood there, once again making one of those tiny little stubby branches. Gonna do temporary blocks here and here, then we're gonna do a wood and a tuft, and then finish that off with 1 more of each. A quick reminder, of course, that you don't need to follow this to the letter, right? Like if you want to use more tuft or less tuft, or just frankly different blocks in general, go right ahead, be my guest. I'm showing you exactly where I put every single block because people seem to like that, which I totally understand, of course, but if you want to just kind of skim through this and make your own shapes with your own materials, that is all good, and frankly, I support that a lot. Then for our last branch, you're going to put a wood off of this specific piece of tuft right here. We're going to go in that direction. With a temporary block, you're going to raise that up and over by 1, just like that, and maybe put another tuft there as well. Going to bring that down by a block, actually, so something like that. Because, you know, these branches tend to curve down after a little while. Going in this general direction that we've been facing the entire time. Going to bring that back by 1 and over by 1 with the tuft. And 2 more wood pieces right there, 2 more temporary blocks right there, and 1 final wood piece. I know they're kind of annoying to put down with all these weird corners and whatever, but trust me, is worth it. And then 1 final wood piece right there, and then you're done with all the branches. And now comes the part that a lot of people feel is the trickiest, which is adding the leaves. Now, this part might seem very tricky, but in reality, all you really need to do here is start with just a good amount of leaf covering on all sides of these blocks on the top here. We're going to be adding in the iconic willow tree droopy bits in a little bit, but for the time being, all you really need to do is do a nice mix of the mangrove and the the azalea leaves in the top here, I like doing roughly like 70 to 80% mangrove, 20% azalea. And yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and put the entire thing in a time lapse so we can just get through all of it quickly, because trust me, watching me place leaves for like 10 minutes is very, very, very boring. Almost guaranteed that you do not want to see that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give these guys a nice, healthy, good cover of leafage. And then once that's done, we'll get into our finishing touches of our willow tree. Alright, as you can see, we've done a good bit of leaf cover, and like I said, it's pretty random, right? Like, I'm mostly using the mangrove leaves. There's no real order to this. I'm kind of just making lumps, putting the lumps wherever I feel like. And now comes everyone's favorite part. We're gonna make this tree into a willow tree, because right now it's not really a willow tree yet. If you want it to be a willow tree, it's gotta have the droopy bits. So let's get right into that. Much like the other leafing sections, you kind of just want to add in little strands coming down, really wherever you want. I don't like having them touch personally, because then they just look really thick at the top. Same thing goes for like diagonals. I don't really like doing that very much, so I'll often opt to like have them not touched by a block like this, for example. That's a very good angle where it's like off by 2 and then 1, kind of like how a knight moves in chess, if you're familiar with chess. But yeah, then I go in here and I add a little bit of accent color, right, with the azalea leaves, and then I also like to break up the blocky shape here with a little bit of the iron bars every now and again. Maybe I'll put that there and that up there. As for the glowberry vines, I kind of just like to put them on whatever a solid block I can find. So, you know, there's some up there, there's ones in here, there's one over here, and just drag them down to a similar length to, you know, the droopy bits that you end up making. As for the propagules, once you've already made some of the droopy bits, you can see I've gotten started right here. I like just slapping them on the bottoms of some of the mangrove leaves. You'll actually need to use bone meal first to create the propagule and then to grow it to its max size. And yeah, with these general building rules in mind, you can go ahead and finish off the detailing of your tree. And there you have it, my friends, the completed balanced willow tree. I know that build tutorial got a little bit vague towards the end, but that's just how it is with organic builds. I really do hope you were able to follow along and found this helpful. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, a like on the video would be very much appreciated by yours truly. And if you're not subscribed, consider doing that as well. Until next time, my dudes, this has been Leon, and I will see you all in the next 3 ways to build video. Take care, my dudes.